Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this evening's update on Tropical Storm Nicole. So, Tropical Storm Nicole, as of 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Tuesday, November the 8th, has maximum sustained winds of 65 miles per hour, a minimum central pressure of 984 millibars, and is moving west-southwest at 10 miles per hour. Looking at the key messages for Tropical Storm Nicole, hurricane conditions and a dangerous storm surge are expected in portions of the northwestern Bahamas on Wednesday, where a hurricane warning is in effect. Hurricane conditions are expected across portions of the coast of southeast and east central Florida beginning late Wednesday or Wednesday night, where a hurricane warning is in effect. Tropical storm conditions are expected in the tropical storm warning areas in Florida and Georgia beginning early Wednesday. A dangerous storm surge is expected along much of the east coast of Florida and portions of coastal Georgia, where a storm surge warning is in effect. The storm surge will be accompanied by large and damaging waves. Residents in the warning area should listen to advice given by local officials. Do not focus on the exact track of Nicole, since it is expected to be a large storm with hazards extending well to the north of the center, outside of the forecast cone. These hazards are likely to affect much of the Florida Peninsula and portions of the southeast United States. Nicole will produce heavy rainfall Wednesday and Thursday across the Florida Peninsula. Flash and urban flooding will be likely across portions of the Florida Peninsula, along with possible renewed river rises on the St. Johns River. On Friday and Saturday, flash and urban flooding and small stream flooding will be possible in the southeast through the mid-Atlantic and central Appalachians. Now, looking at the satellite imagery for Tropical Storm Nicole has a more tropical look to it than yesterday, with a more symmetrical looking storm, and but it still is holding on to a lot of its subtropical characteristics, with a broad area of a lighter convection around the center, and the convection being way spread out far from the center. And as mentioned in the discussion, Nicole has a huge wind field associated with it. So the tropical storm force winds, as you're going to be seeing in the latest forecast cone, in this orange shading, the tropical storm force winds on the northwest, north, northeast, and southeast side extend several hundred miles from the center. So many areas across the northern half of the Bahamas, Florida, Georgia, and the Carolinas are going to be experiencing tropical storm force winds well away from the center of Nicole. And looking at the official hurricane cone, by 1 p.m. Wednesday, Nicole is expected to move over the far northern Bahamas as a 75-mile-per-hour hurricane and is expected to make landfall 1 a.m. Thursday morning north of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. By 1 p.m. Thursday, Nicole is expected to move between Tampa and the Big Bend of Florida. 1 a.m. Friday, Nicole will move into south central Georgia, and by 1 p.m. Friday, Nicole will be moving over the western Carolinas. So the track continues to shift westward as well, that I've noticed. So areas up and down the mid-Atlantic and northeast, and even in the Ohio Valley, should be paying close attention to Nicole as well. We got hurricane warnings in effect in the red across the northern Bahamas and the central and southeastern Florida coast, tropical storm warnings in the blue areas. Tropical storm watches now extend to the west coast of Florida, as well as southeastern portions of Georgia and South Carolina in the yellow. And we do have some hurricane watches in the pink around Lake Okeechobee, portions of southeast Florida, and northeast Florida as well. Looking at the official spaghetti model plots for Nicole, in the next 24 hours, Nicole's going to move over the northern Bahamas, the far northern islands, as a Category 1 hurricane. In the next 36 hours, Nicole is going to approach the east central coast of Florida as a 75-mile-per-hour hurricane. And in the next 48 hours, they'll be moving over Tampa and the Big Bend of Florida. And in the next 72 hours, it'll curve north and northeast as it is picked up by a large storm system over the Great Lakes and rapidly moves northeast across the mid-Atlantic and the Northeast and eventually Atlantic Canada in the next 96 hours. And looking at the official intensity model guidance for Nicole, Nicole is expected to be a strong tropical storm or a low-end Category 1 hurricane by landfall, both in the Bahamas and in East Florida in the next 24 to 36 hours, and is expected to weaken to a weak tropical storm in the next 72 hours. But interestingly enough, the models show a resurgence in winds as Nicole becomes extratropical and moves across the Northeast. So we're likely going to be seeing a lot of tropical storm force winds across the mid-Atlantic and Northeast with Nicole, despite it becoming an extratropical cyclone. And looking at the rainfall projections for Nicole, we can expect 2 to 5 inches across the far northern Bahamas, across the Florida Peninsula, 2 to 4 inches according to the European model, across Georgia and the Carolinas, eastern Tennessee, and then much of the Northeast and Ohio Valley. We can expect 2 to 4 inches. And then same with portions of Maine and Atlantic Canada, a little less with totals of about 1 to 3 inches on average. And looking at the GFS model is putting similar rainfall totals to the European model with about 2 to 4 inches across the northern Bahamas, 2 to 4 inches across Florida Peninsula. The GFS shows a further west track of Nicole with 1 to 3 inch rainfall totals going to eastern Alabama, as well as Tennessee, Kentucky, and also for the rest of the Southeast, Mid-Atlantic, and Northeast into Atlantic Canada. So flooding is likely going to be a problem with Nicole up and down the eastern portion of the United States. So thanks for watching this evening's update on Tropical Storm Nicole. I will continue to update you guys as Nicole approaches landfall in the Bahamas and Florida. Stay safe and have a wonderful evening, my friends.